From forgotten attics to the ocean floor, these 30 incredible artifacts were uncovered by accident, and each one tells a story that changed history, shocked experts, or made someone unexpectedly rich. When British collector Nick Mead purchased a Soviet T-54 tank on eBay for $37,000, he expected rust, not riches. But during routine inspection, he discovered 5 gold bars, worth around $2 million, hidden in the fuel tank. Believed to be looted Gulf War treasure, Mead reported the find to authorities and never saw the gold again, but his jaw-dropping discovery remains one of the most unexpected in military collecting history. While walking to work in Manhattan in 2007, Elizabeth Gibson spotted a painting dumped with someone's garbage. Something about it caught her eye, so she took it home. That trash turned out to be Tres Personajes by Rufino Tamayo, a stolen artwork missing since 1987 and worth $1 million. After helping return it to the original owner's widow, Gibson received a significant reward, proof that sometimes treasure really can be found on the curb. A man in Canada bought a used couch from a thrift store for just $25. While relaxing one day, he felt something odd beneath the cushions. Hidden deep inside was a vintage Rolex Daytona watch, a model highly sought after by collectors. After getting it appraised, he learned it was worth nearly $250,000, making his second-hand sofa the best bargain he'd ever make. Beneath the murky waters of the Gulf of Mexico, just off the coast of Alabama, lies a silent, ancient world, a submerged forest of cypress trees dating back 60,000 years. Long hidden under thick layers of sand and sediment, this forgotten woodland was only rediscovered in recent years, thanks in part to the disruptive force of Hurricane Katrina. As the storm ripped through the region, it dislodged the protective layers of mud that had entombed the trees, exposing the forest floor for the first time in tens of thousands of years and presenting modern science with a time capsule from Earth's distant past. When divers finally descended to explore the site in 2020, they found something astonishing. The trees were still largely intact, with bark still clinging to their trunks and the wood inside retaining its original coloration. The forest, now underwater, had remained perfectly preserved thanks to the lack of oxygen and the insulating sediment that had sealed it off from the elements. This unique environment halted the natural decay process that would have otherwise reduced the trees to mere fossils, allowing scientists a rare glimpse into the prehistoric ecosystem that once thrived in what is now seabed. In the final months of 2018, 2 seasoned divers, Steve Hathaway and Andrew Buttle, were exploring the waters off the coast of New Zealand when they came across something astonishing, something they had never seen before in all their years underwater. Gliding silently through the ocean depths was a massive, translucent creature stretching approximately 30 feet in length, resembling a giant undulating worm. Its graceful, almost hypnotic movements gave it an ethereal quality, as though it were a piece of the sea itself come to life. Luckily for the scientific community and the rest of the world, they had brought their cameras along and captured this surreal encounter in full detail. Describing the creature, the divers noted that it appeared hollow, almost as if it were a gigantic windsock drifting on a current, its form subtly changing shape and pulsating as if in response to their presence. Scientists who examined the footage theorized that the mysterious organism was likely a pyrosome, a colonial creature made up of thousands, sometimes millions, of tiny individual zooids working together as a single entity. These zooids form a tubular structure and coordinate their movement and feeding, creating what can only be described as a living spaceship, a luminous, shape-shifting body that drifts through the ocean feeding on plankton. In 2016, during a routine archaeological excavation ahead of a housing development project in Buckinghamshire, England, researchers made a rare and rather unusual discovery, one that was both intriguing and foul-smelling. Hidden deep within the waterlogged remains of a Roman well, they uncovered a woven basket containing 3 chicken eggs. What made the find truly remarkable was the fact that the eggs had remained completely intact after nearly 1,700 years underground. An incredibly rare feat given how fragile such items typically are over time. As the archaeologists attempted to recover the delicate eggs, tragedy struck. One of the eggs accidentally cracked open, releasing a putrid stench so unbearable that work on the site had to be temporarily halted. The smell was a reminder that what they were dealing with was not fossilized or mineralized, but something preserved in its organic form. Such preservation is likely due to the oxygen-free conditions within the well's muddy, watery depths, which shielded the eggs and other artifacts from decomposition. Alongside the eggs, the team also unearthed Roman coins, shoes, and tools, offering further evidence that the well may have held ceremonial or cultural significance. In the middle of the Pacific Ocean, concealed beneath the tranquil turquoise waters of Truk Lagoon, now Chuk Lagoon, lies one of the most haunting and historically significant underwater graveyards on Earth. Once a formidable Japanese naval base during World War II, the lagoon became the site of Operation Hailstone in 1944, a massive American assault that destroyed over 60 Japanese ships and 275 aircraft in just 2 days. These wrecks have remained undisturbed at the lagoon's bottom, turning the area into what's now known as the Ghost Fleet of Truk Lagoon. The clarity of the lagoon's waters allows for an eerily detailed view of the wrecks, which lie strewn across the seabed in various states of disrepair. Explorers and divers, including legendary marine adventurer Jacques Cousteau, have marveled at the sunken ships still filled with wartime cargo. Fighter planes, tanks, mines, and even personal belongings like boots, cutlery, and handwritten letters. It's like stepping into a time capsule, a frozen battlefield where human stories and military history coexist beneath the waves. Some vessels even contain the skeletal remains of crew members, a stark reminder of the lives lost during the war. The Apollo 11 mission is widely remembered as one of humanity's greatest achievements, landing the first humans on the moon and safely bringing them back. But long before Neil Armstrong took that famous first step, a colossal burst of fire and smoke had to lift the Saturn V rocket off the Earth. The engines responsible for that historic liftoff, the mighty F-1 rocket engines, were discarded into the Atlantic Ocean after separation during flight, forgotten beneath the waves for decades. That is, until 2013, when Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, a lifelong space enthusiast, funded a private expedition to locate and retrieve these submerged relics from the bottom of the sea. It took weeks of deep-sea exploration and robotic assistance to finally locate the massive engines, resting nearly 3 miles below the ocean surface. Standing over 20 feet tall and weighing around 18,000 pounds each, these engines were in surprisingly good condition considering their violent descent and decades underwater. Although NASA was initially uncertain whether these were specifically from Apollo 11, serial numbers recovered later helped confirm at least one belonged to the mission that took humans to the moon. While some components were too large or fragile to recover, many parts were restored and are now displayed in museums, connecting Earth's oceans to our greatest journey beyond it. Off the coast of Ilot, Israel, an abandoned relic of human ambition and novelty sits quietly beneath the sea. Once envisioned as a bold and quirky underwater attraction, the Nymphas Show Bar was a strip club constructed beneath the waves, accessible via a bridge that led visitors through a tunnel and down a submerged staircase. It opened with glitz and gimmick, inviting people to descend into an aquatic nightclub experience unlike any other. But like many extravagant ventures, it soon failed to attract enough attention and closed its doors, never to reopen. Today, the underwater club has been reclaimed, not by humans, but by marine life. When diver and photographer Gil Koplovitz rediscovered it in 2013, he found that the chrome fixtures still gleamed, the bar and tables were still arranged as if expecting guests, and a bottle of water even sat untouched on one table. Far below the surface of the ocean, where sunlight can never reach and pressure is immense enough to crush steel, nature has found a way to flourish. In 2007, scientists exploring a volcanic ridge near Costa Rica discovered the largest black smoker hydrothermal vent ever recorded, an underwater chimney blasting superheated, mineral-rich water from the Earth's crust. This particular vent, later named the Medusa Hydrothermal Vent Field, lies a staggering 8,500 feet beneath the sea in one of the most extreme environments known to life. What makes this underwater inferno even more fascinating is what thrives around it. Despite water temperatures reaching 635 degrees 335°, hot enough to boil on the surface, the crushing pressure of the deep sea prevents it from vaporizing. The tale of the Helmhooker is one of transformation, from humble merchant vessel to drug smuggler to deep sea legend. Built in the Netherlands in 1951, the ship spent its early life performing regular commercial shipping duties. But as the years passed and the ship aged, it fell into the hands of a drug trafficking operation. In 1984, while docked at Bonaire's port, the Helmhooker was raided by authorities who uncovered a false bulkhead concealing over 25,000 pounds of cannabis. With the crew arrested and the ship impounded, there was no one left to care for her. Left abandoned in port, the vessel eventually took on water, listed to one side, and finally sank into the sea on September 12, 1984. But rather than being forgotten, the Helmhooker found a second life as an underwater attraction. Resting about 100 feet below the surface, she became a popular dive site, attracting marine life and scuba adventurers from around the world. Just off the coast of Key Biscayne, Florida, lies one of the most hauntingly beautiful marine installations on Earth, the Neptune Memorial Reef, designed in 2007 by artist Kim Brandel. At first glance, it looks like the ruins of an ancient city with ornate arches, lion statues, and stone structures that appear to have been sunken centuries ago. But this is no lost civilization. It's a modern underwater cemetery where the cremated remains of loved ones are mixed into sculptures, becoming part of a vibrant artificial reef. Spanning over 16 acres, the site serves both as a final resting place and a living reef designed to foster marine biodiversity. Brandel hopes to expand it into the largest human-made reef in the world, blending remembrance with sustainability, allowing mourners and marine life to coexist beneath the waves. Beneath the turquoise waters off Nassau, Bahamas, stands a colossal underwater sculpture known as Ocean Atlas, created in 2014 by renowned sculptor and environmentalist Jason DeCaires Taylor. Towering over 18 feet tall and weighing more than 60 tons, the statue depicts a young Bahamian girl, kneeling with the weight of the ocean on her shoulders, echoing the ancient Greek myth of Atlas. But unlike myth, this work is grounded in a message of environmental responsibility. Crafted from sustainable materials with a neutral pH to encourage coral growth and marine life. Ocean Atlas is not only the largest underwater sculpture in the world, but also a powerful visual plea to protect our oceans from destruction, reminding divers and viewers alike that the burden of preserving nature is one we all share. In the early 1960s, legendary ocean explorer Jacques Cousteau attempted to turn science fiction into reality by creating Precontinent 2, an underwater habitat stationed off the coast of Sudan. This submerged village, part of a larger project to test the limits of human endurance and aquatic living, featured everything from telephones, radios, and surveillance cameras to a small library, and even a pet parrot trained to signal when oxygen levels dropped too low. Residents of the habitat lived at depth for weeks, pushing the boundaries of what was possible beneath the sea. Though Cousteau eventually abandoned the project due to concerns about its funding from the oil industry, the habitat itself still exists, and remarkably still holds air, standing as a silent, submerged monument to a dream of underwater colonization that once captivated the world. Near the Greek island of Zakynthos, resting just beneath the coastal waters, are a series of eerie, geometric stone formations, some shaped like circular platforms, others resembling colonnades and pavements, sparking theories that they might be the ruins of a long-forgotten civilization, perhaps even connected to the legend of Atlantis. Divers marveled at the architectural precision of these submerged structures, but when scientists investigated, they proposed a more humble, though no less fascinating, explanation. The formations were created 5 million years ago by microbes feeding on methane gas, forming natural cement-like shapes in the process. While geologists insist the structures are a natural phenomenon, skeptics point to the strange symmetry and placement as signs of human design. Sailors have reported sailing through glowing seas for centuries, but it wasn't until satellite images in recent years confirmed the phenomenon known as the Milky Sea. Stretching across thousands of square miles, this rare event makes the ocean appear to glow with a ghostly blue-white light, sometimes for days. Scientists believe it's caused by bioluminescent bacteria working together in massive colonies, but the exact mechanisms remain mysterious and difficult to study, since it's nearly impossible to predict or locate in real time. Discovered by sonar in 2011 at the bottom of the Baltic Sea, this strange disc-shaped formation has stirred intense speculation. Some claim it's a sunken UFO with its perfect round shape and odd staircase-like features. Others argue it's just a glacial deposit, a natural rock formation shaped by Ice Age movements. But with divers reporting strange electronic interference near the site and its unusual design, the Baltic Sea anomaly remains one of the ocean's strangest underwater puzzles. When a farmer in Ballycastle, Northern Ireland, lost his wedding ring while working in the fields, he decided to turn to two trusted friends for help, Paul Reynard and Michael Gwynn, both experienced metal detectorists. What began as a heartfelt mission to retrieve a sentimental item turned into something much more extraordinary. Though they searched thoroughly, the ring was never found. But in its place, buried beneath layers of soil and time, was something far more valuable. A hoard of 84 ancient coins, each carrying the weight of history and secrets from centuries ago. Among the collection was an especially rare gem, a gold coin from the reign of King Henry VIII, one of England's most iconic and controversial monarchs. The discovery stunned local historians and archaeologists alike. Valuations of the treasure suggest it could be worth well over $100,000, and some experts believe it might be the most significant coin find in Northern Ireland's recorded history. From a personal loss came an unexpected piece of national heritage, a reminder that sometimes what we think is gone may lead us to something even greater. In 2015, during the renovation of the Redland House Hotel in Chester, England, workers unearthed what they believed was an old discarded bed frame from the Victorian era. Deemed too bulky and unremarkable to be kept, the bed was left outside in the parking lot, where it caught the eye of collector Ian Coulson. He paid $2,000 to take it home, intrigued by its craftsmanship, but something didn't sit right. The style of the bed looked older, far older than the Victorian era. Curious, Coulson submitted it for testing. What the experts found stunned everyone. Through DNA analysis on the timber, researchers were able to trace the bed back to none other than King Henry VII, the first monarch of the Tudor dynasty, who ruled from 1485 to 1509. This wasn't just any antique. It was a genuine royal artifact, and possibly the only known surviving bed of the Tudor king. Its potential value, upwards of 20 million. What was nearly thrown away as junk turned out to be a priceless link to one of England's most formative periods in history. In the heart of Phoenix, Arizona, a couple named Eddie and Angel were in the midst of a home renovation when they stumbled upon a mystery. Behind an old medicine cabinet, they noticed something odd, a 4-digit code scribbled on the wall. At first, they thought nothing of it, but when they removed more drywall, they uncovered something unexpected, an old safe embedded in the wall. With the code in hand, they decided to try their luck, and to their amazement, the safe opened without a hitch. Inside was a true time capsule of the 1960s, over $50,000 in aged currency, a vintage bottle of bourbon, and a book titled A Guide for the Perplexed. But the surprises didn't stop there. Tucked inside the book were strange items, a black and white photo of a man, a map with a red X over Mesa, Arizona, and a bingo card with the number 66 circled. Even stranger were the passages underlined in the book, suggesting some kind of coded message. Was it a forgotten treasure map, a riddle, or someone's elaborate game? No one knows, but the couple now has a mystery on their hands that continues to baffle and intrigue. In the early 1600s, the Spanish galleon Nuestra Señora de Atocha was entrusted with an invaluable cargo, tons of silver, gold, emeralds, and other riches intended for the Spanish crown. But fate had other plans. The ship, after making stops in Colombia and Cuba, set off into treacherous Florida waters during hurricane season. It was a disastrous decision. A violent storm struck, and the ship was torn apart by the sea, sending its crew and precious contents to the ocean floor. lost for over 350 years. Fast forward to 1985, when renowned treasure hunter Mel Fisher finally located the wreck after a 16-year search. What he recovered stunned the world. Among the many artifacts was the Atoka Emerald, estimated to be worth $250,000 on its own. But that was just the beginning. The haul also included gold bars, silver coins, rough emeralds, and ornate jewelry. It remains one of the greatest and most celebrated underwater treasure recoveries in history, a story of persistence, tragedy, and the unyielding allure of sunken riches. In 1991, a Hollywood librarian was rummaging through old boxes in her attic when she came across what appeared to be a stack of dusty, yellowing pages. Upon closer inspection, she realized it was a 600-page handwritten manuscript, a draft of The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Long thought to be lost to history, this particular draft had vanished during the 19th century, sparking rumors and speculation about its fate for decades. The key to its reappearance: the librarian's grandfather, who had once served as a lawyer for Mark Twain himself. It's believed Twain entrusted him with the manuscript for safekeeping, but never reclaimed it. While experts valued the draft at over $1.5 million, the librarian made a heartfelt decision. Instead of auctioning it off, she sold it at a much lower price to the Buffalo Library, ensuring this piece of American literary heritage would remain accessible to the public. In an era of lost history and private collectors, her act of generosity brought a national treasure back into the light. In 1985, during routine construction work in the Polish town of Środa Śląska, workers unearthed what would become one of Europe's most mysterious and valuable medieval treasure discoveries. While digging the foundation for a new telephone exchange, they stumbled upon a hidden stash of 14th century gold coins, rare jewelry, and precious stones, many encrusted with intricate Gothic designs. Historians eventually traced the hoard back to King Charles IV of Luxembourg, who pawned the treasure to a Jewish banker named Muszko to finance his rise to become Holy Roman Emperor. Tragically, Muszko died during the Black Plague, and the exact location of the hoard was lost to history, until this chance discovery centuries later. Before the site could be fully protected, news of the find spread rapidly. Looters descended, taking countless pieces before Polish authorities stepped in. Since then, additional fragments of the treasure have surfaced, some even decades later, making the Środa treasure a continually evolving mystery. The known pieces include gold crowns, a stunning sapphire ring, ornate pendants, and hundreds of Bohemian coins, and the value of the collection has soared to over $100 million. Yet whispers persist that more artifacts remain hidden, buried under centuries of soil, or stashed away in secret private collections. For historians and treasure hunters alike, Środa is still very much alive. For decades, an elderly woman in Campania, France, prepared her meals beneath a painting hanging on the kitchen wall, never suspecting the priceless secret it held. The artwork, coated in layers of grease, soot, and time, was assumed to be a basic religious icon. It wasn't until 2019, when her grandson convinced her to have it professionally examined, that the truth emerged. It was an authentic Cimabue painting, titled Christ Mocked, created around 1280 by the master who helped usher in the Italian Renaissance. The find shocked art historians worldwide. Experts were astounded to see that a long-lost panel from a larger altarpiece had survived in such an unlikely location. Despite its humble setting above a stove, the artwork's brushwork, pigments, and gold leaf were miraculously intact. The piece was identified as one of only 11 known works by Cimabue and was valued at nearly $30 million, instantly elevating it to the ranks of some of the most important Renaissance rediscoveries in modern times. In 2014, while browsing through a local thrift store in Knoxville, Tennessee, vintage clothing enthusiast Sean McEvoy picked up a worn sweater priced at just 58 cents. It was a simple wool garment with a faded West Point label, but something about it caught his eye. Back at home, Sean examined the inner collar and found a name stitched in: Vince Lombardi. That name wasn't just familiar, it was legendary. Lombardi was one of the most iconic figures in NFL history, and the possibility that this sweater once belonged to him seemed almost too incredible to believe. Driven by curiosity, Sean began researching and eventually contacted a sports memorabilia authentication company. Their findings confirmed what seemed impossible. The sweater had, in fact, belonged to Vince Lombardi during his early coaching years at West Point in the 1950s. Word of the find spread quickly, and collectors took notice. At auction, the once-forgotten sweater sold for $43,000, turning a spare change purchase into a life-changing discovery. When British celebrity chef Jamie Oliver purchased a former Midland Bank building in Manchester in 2011, he planned to transform the historic structure into a vibrant restaurant. But as renovations began, construction workers stumbled upon something unexpected deep in the basement. Sealed vaults, untouched for decades. Intrigued, they pried them open and found what amounted to a forgotten treasure trove. Inside were over $1 million worth of valuables: gold, jewelry, vintage records, and even more surprising items. Among the contents were master tapes from iconic Manchester bands, likely placed there by music producers during the city's punk and post-punk boom. Some of the vaults also contained loaded firearms, their presence adding an eerie sense of secrecy and forgotten danger. Many of the boxes were sealed as far back as 1935, likely abandoned by clients who had died, disappeared, or forgotten their contents entirely. In Jacksonville, Florida, a dusty barn held a secret that car enthusiasts dream of: a perfectly preserved 1950s Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing, one of the rarest and most iconic vehicles ever made. The car had been sitting in darkness for decades, undisturbed. When it was finally discovered, a newspaper dated 1965 was still resting on the passenger seat, suggesting the vehicle hadn't moved for over half a century. Covered in layers of grime and cobwebs, the vehicle was still intact, and as rare as they come. This particular Gullwing, number 43 off the production line, had a number of features unique to the earliest models of the series. With its signature upward opening doors and advanced engineering for the time, it was once considered a technological marvel of post-war automotive design. Upon discovery, restorers were able to authenticate its originality, instantly boosting its value into the millions.